welcome to the channel. This is indeed just released at the time of this upload or shortly thereafter, the BlackSquare's rendition Microsoft 2020 Flight Simulator Beechcraft Duke, Grand Duke, and Turban Duke. I spent about 70 bucks on this USD for the deluxe package, which comes with both. They're extremely high detailed. If you have not seen any other previews on any other channels and this is your first time checking out a BlackSquare product or a twin engine to such a high detail in terms of its simulation, then I think you're in for quite a treat. What's interesting about the Beechcraft Duke is that not only was it piston powered, i.e. a turbocharged, injected opposed, 6-cylinder, 541 cubic inch engine, naturally running on avgas, more than likely 100 low lead, it was also modified by a company named Rocket Engineering, which will be in the part 2 video of this series that I'll be doing on both of these aircraft. And that aircraft was turbine powered. So it was a PT6. They make approximately 550 shaft horsepower per side. So you're looking at just over 1,000 horse for what was considered to be a relatively mundane performing aircraft with the piston-driven version based off of the fact that the nacelles, as you can see, are quite the mass in terms of how big they were, so they offered a lot of aerodynamic resistance. So the plane was good, and it was built to the quality standards of the King Air, so they say, but the thing was it did not have a very high top speed. The regular Duke, as stated by the BlackSquare team here, at least the time of release, is a cruise speed of 250 knots with a range of 1,180 nautical miles and an altitude of approximately 30,000 feet. I've been able to look out on the web. These aircraft were capable of maintaining a 10,000 foot cabin altitude. So they were pressurized, in a sense, that's what that means. And the Grand Duke was capable of doing 240 knots at also 30,000 feet, but with an increased range of 1,460 nautical miles, with an increased load capacity. And then, finally, the Turban Duke, which you will see in the other video, is essentially a 28,000 foot aircraft with a almost 300 knot, depending on where you look for your source of information. BlackSquare says that the Duke will do, with the turbine version, about 290 knots for a cruise and about 1,450 nautical mile range. But I've seen numbers upwards of over 300 knots, so it just depends on where you source from. Regardless, all of these aircraft, whether you're buying just the Duke piston version or the turbine version, I believe you are in for a treat no matter where you spend your pretty pennies. So again, while speaking about the aircraft and the fidelity we are expecting to see here, I'm kind of just perusing around here so that you can see all of the features. I know that I like to call my videos rapid reviews. However, this will not probably be fast because there's just far too much information to cover on an aircraft that essentially has this much level of completionist to them. So that being said, I'm just trying to give you your money's worth for the review so that you can see what these textures look like. I'm noticing in the 4K here, which I like to upload at, that these Phillips head screws here that are going for these access panels and the weathering, all of it is very accurate. They don't look like pictures. They don't. I mean, they look like screw heads. They don't look like they're like pretend in any way, shape, or form. I mean, you've got the transparency and the specular layer of the painting here. That red beacon light there, transparent. Very nice. You've got the steps, you've got the weathering, and this is essentially just the outside of the plane, right? I mean, we're looking at the rivets over here and the end number. I mean, this is, you know, in the sunlight, you can see, look at the paint, right? You can see the crazing in the paint. Even the interior, you can get a quick view of that before we head inside. Very accurate there. Yeah, my test pilot, because these are all test videos. I mean, look at the front window screen. That's got a lot of detail in it in terms of the texturing. Even the hearts of propellers, right? Like, look at that. Even the symbol on the propeller, or the sticker, or the paint, all of the above, it's really, really well done. The polished aluminum, the spinner, nice inflatable boots. How about all that? So you can see it already has doors that open up, and the things that we expect for the prices. Now, the single engine or the single package of this, whether you're buying the turbine or the piston, if you prefer one or the other but not both, they're right around $50 off sale. So, you know, you buy the deal, you get for 70 essentially, both of them. Pick and choose. Choice is up to you. However, that being said, let's go ahead and hop on board. You've seen the outside, and let's discuss. Oh, by the way, that thing under the left engine nacelle there, yeah, that is one of the added features. It is the ground power unit. This comes with an engine heater in case you like flying in colder conditions to heat the engine block up, because yes, indeed, this does have that level of detail to it. So let's hop in the pilot in command, and we'll peruse around the interior and see what that looks like. Alright, so we've got our doors closed up. Check, and I am going to remove this ground power unit here. We'll just operate off of the battery for the time being. We'll look at the electrics. It tells us how many volts we have. I am hopeful that there will be a PMS 50 checklist built in that somebody will build for this aircraft eventually, that we can just go down the checklist and do our pre-flights and our, you know, before engine starts and our climb, cruise, and descent and all that stuff. So that being said, let's see if we can open these up. I believe they are already open. You know that we are working with, let's see, we'll leave the magnetos off. Again, this is a first for me. So we'll go ahead and listen to those fuel pumps. And we'll throw our mixtures there, full forward. And then what I would like to do is go ahead and see if we can't not crack the throttle here. Just a little bit. Did you hear the difference in the whine there? Let's go ahead and see if we can't not go over to the left engine and start that first. We'll move this over to both, and then we'll go ahead and hit the starter. I wonder if there is a way. Well, you can hide the EFB. We're going to use this on here. So watch this. And no start, but yours truly is obviously a goon. Just making sure that the fuel is on indeed. Okay. Let's try that again. And you can see the magnetos going through their rotation. And it almost slid off, but this is the level of detail you've got here. So you could see that that did not start up right away. It reminds me very, very much of the A2A Comanche 250, which is indeed both of these developers complementing each other on the level of accuracy and realism that is. I love how it did not start right away. That was pretty cool, for sure. So we'll leave our cow flaps open, and we will turn our fuel booster pump off, and we'll see if we can keep this thing idling. The generator is on. Let's see how it idles. I believe we do have a good idle. Let's go ahead and swap on over to the right engine and see if we can finagle this beast to life as well. And I'll monkey with the throttle. And don't want to give it too much because we do not want to flood the engine. Case in point, why you would literally have essentially a ground power unit for killing batteries and stuff. Try to clear that out for a second. You see the battery charge going down there, which is really cool to see. Throw some external power on there and see if we can actually keep that going. Okay. And let's go with another round, eh? Do not want to give it too much gas this time. And we'll have to work on that one. See if it turns on. Okay. You can see the battery back up to 94%. That's unbelievable. There you go, we've got a catch. So there you go. New mechanic learns how to get 2 engines started on a Duke, but this is not your easy green go button aircraft for sure. This is one of those that you can definitely spend time getting to know. It wears out, it's got wearable parts, it makes it really feel like it's yours for the keep, this aircraft. We'll let that idle about 800 to 900 RPMs on the right side there. We will go ahead and remove our external power there. And these are optimal conditions, shall I say. This is in Dillingham Airfield in Hawaii, so starting conditions probably are hot and humid. But the realism there, as you can see, I did not want to edit any of that out because I wanted you to see that that is indeed the level of simulation that we're dealing with here. So let's go outside and listen to this beast. And I hope you can hear that turbo just as much as I can. I would like to actually bring the sounds up just a little bit to make sure you can hear that. Oh, there you go. Turbo whistle for the win. Okay, so we're back in here. What I'd like to do is allow these engines to warm up so that we don't damage them on our rollout and takeoff. And once I am actually at the active, I'll go ahead and bring you guys back up momentarily for you. Just a couple seconds from me. Catch you in a second. Okay, and here we are. Just realigned right before the active. And I want to go ahead and just close the window up. Show you the pistons are still popping back and forth as they should be. Show you all of our inlets and exhausts there. The mags are firing properly. Show you the electronics page, or the electrical page rather. Everything's charging, battery topped off, cabin. We've got spinach on our intercoolers for our pressurized air. I'm gonna go ahead and let's throw some flaps in right here. Cabin temperature mode, let's just go to auto cool. Vent on high, we're not gonna be going too high today. That's great, let's just go right about there. And there's even a cabin, of course, on a pressurized aircraft, a cabin altitude adjustment, which is very, very nice. So we're just going to basically leave that low. We're not going to go to pressurized altitudes today, but it is available. We've got all of our instruments set. We've got our altimeters set. And let's go ahead and line up and get on out of Dodge, as they say. Naturally, I said it was a hot, humid day here in Hawaii, but it's reading 59 degrees on the climate control there for the thermometer. So, not necessarily a hot day. Guess that depends on what part of the globe you're from. However, the starting conditions for this aircraft are definitely, as you can see, different depending on all types of different conditions. Weather, I'm sure, engine condition, all kinds of neat stuff. That is one of the reasons behind purchasing an aircraft of this fidelity. So, flaps are set. All we need is 2 running engines. And I'm hoping that you can hear this okay, because these engines should sound incredible with the turbos. Here we go. And that's right at about 40 manifolds of pressure. 6-pack instrument gauge, top left, airspeed's alive, 50, 60, 70 knots, 80. Let's go ahead and get in a little bit of rotate. Would you feel that? Now remember, this is service update 14. I know that there's, you know, some things with airplane contact with the wheels and the ground sometimes, you know, especially with tail draggers, it's not super accurate. But here, to be honest with you, no joke, this is literally, I would say, definitely, that was the smoothest rotation I've ever had out of any aircraft. That I can assure you. Just listen to this beast. So we are climbing at flaps up, gear up, approximately 130 knots at the White Arch. We could climb even harder, and we are still accelerating. We're going 2,000 foot a minute climb. This is the Grand Duke. So as an easy reminder, this is the one with the 240 top speed, the flight level 300, 30,000 foot max ceiling. And essentially 240 knots provides us a lot of room for long range cruising at a stated 1,460 nautical miles. Hopefully I stated all that correctly. It's got a very interesting, sleek view, in my opinion, out of the windows here as well. Port, starboard, as well as the front. It's a very, very robust dashboard that you have here. Very, very robust cabin itself. So you really get the feeling that you're sitting deep in this aircraft. Even if you look externally at the model. I mean, it's definitely thicker in the front than it is in the back, no pun intended. Let's go ahead and get off of those 40 pounds of manifold pressure, because we definitely do not want to damage such a beautiful aircraft. And let's see if we can pull the propellers back just a little bit. And what's nice about this is the propeller sync. So that should, in theory, bring the propeller RPMs closer together so that we don't have any droning noises or unnecessary vibrations. Checking out our engines here. And I do believe the click spot to hide it is there, just to the left of the pilot in command's position. As with all these aircraft, I like to trim out for yoke-free flight, so I don't have to touch anything to fly, nice and easy. Keep in mind, this is the Grand Duke, so we have 380 horsepower per side. Avgas 100 low lead burning. We're already at 5,900 feet indicated on our altimeter, and we are still climbing at, well, 1,500 feet a minute while pressurizing and climbing out at approximately just over 120 knots indicated, and that's at 30 pounds of manifold pressure at almost 2,500 plus on the RPM for the propellers. Good PSIs for our engine oil. Everything's in the green temperature-wise. Good fuel flow, good cylinder head temperature. Everything's just perfect right now. Let's go outside and get some visuals, some more. Beautiful. Again, keep in mind, this is the update 14 version of the simulator, so this is only going to get better. This is minus patches, minus bugs, none as seen yet. It's perfect, flawless in every way that I can figure out. And it's only going to get better, because with the 15 updates coming to the simulator and the new tire contact model and the new physics, it's going to get even better. As if that weren't enough as it is for the 14 update. I'm so thankful that they released this. If you're not into the turbine and or the piston, or you like them both, I don't think you can go wrong. And I'm not just saying that as a fanboy. I'm saying that because in a very real way, we are still climbing out at 125 knots indicated at 1,000 feet per minute. This plane's flying so smoothly, I don't even need the autopilot to climb for me. I mean, look at the yoke. I'm not even touching it. And we're pretty much just flying normal, right? So even if I was going to trim it, small inputs. That's all that's necessary. And again, 1,250 plus feet a minute climb. We're approaching 10,000 feet soon. And that's with the piston version. So 380 horsepower per side, you can imagine what over 1,000 is going to be like with the turbine for the Part 2. I am excited. It's supposedly, you know, depending on who you look for with your information, in terms of your specs, it has a 4,000 foot climb out rate, which is substantial. I mean, we're talking about light jet range here with the turboprop. So, quite an exquisite aircraft. I don't think anything really needs to be said any further than just looking at the eye candy in here. Every button has a sound, every switch has a function. And this is the type of aircraft that literally makes you want to destination hop. You know, you can get in your giant aircraft and you can go all over the globe. You can take your 4,000 or 5,000 mile flights, but once you're at 30,000 plus feet, what do? You just sit there, maybe even go out for an ice cream cone, and then come back 5 hours later, and you're still cruising. Here, you can stay busy and you can stay active. The combination of the digital modern avionics and the steam gauges is where it's at. This is one that you do not even want to turn the autopilot on because it is substantially fun to fly. Just manipulating things, messing with the control surfaces, having the propellers and the mixture. It is all good. Now, mind you, we're still full rich at 10,800 feet. So this aircraft has plenty of performance to give. Now, remember, we're only on 50% fuel and we have no passengers. But look at what you get. Mind you, knucklehead over here, namely myself, has not even put the cow flaps up to decrease some of that aerodynamic drag. Let's see what this does. And I do believe they've come up a bit. You know, normally we fly out of Sierra 4-5, but this is a BlackSquare aircraft, my friends. We had to come out to scenic Oahu. We had to. Couple of auto-generated flights right there and name and number. How about that? Okay, so as usual with the rapid review, try to keep this under multi-hours for each plane because there is a part 2 with the turbine coming up right after this. So let's go ahead and lose some altitude here, go down for our final approach, and I'll give my final thoughts on the Piston Duke. Be right back. Okay, so just coming out at 2,900 feet, about to make a right turn off of the northwestern edge of Honolulu. We've come down at approximately 190 knots, give or take. So I'm going to pull the power back quite a bit because the runway is not very far off from this tip here. Go ahead and put our propeller pitch to full forward. And I'm going to turn the fuel boost pumps on rollout. You may have noticed I left the right fuel boost pump on, which was appropriate, but never did turn the left on. obviously operator error. So, that being said, aircraft still operated flawlessly. Is essentially, it's a brand new plane, as evidenced by the Hobbs meter there. And there's a runway just off of the nose, about 11:30. Power still at idle. Trimming for hands-off flight, because we're going to be introducing some flaps. I want to go outside and check the gear rotation out. Very nice, smooth animations. And we are in the white arc, so let's go ahead and throw in our first stage, 50% flaps there of the entire throw of the lever. I will say, nice realism that can be afforded to you is I particularly fly with the Airbus TCA quadrant, which is the split left and right hand throttles. What's cool about that is it allows you to manipulate the engines in a way that a single throttle wouldn't, and I feel when you have an aircraft of this fidelity, you want to get the most out of it. That's probably the whole reason behind buying an aircraft like this. So my recommendation, for what it's worth, get yourself split throttles if you don't already have them, because it offers a world of change on something like this, if not all aircraft. So we are lined up with the center line, and I am constantly trimming 80 knots. Back to idle. You can see how smooth that was. I don't know if that's what you would call a greaser or not, but again, this is literally an aircraft that will excel even further, technically speaking, on Service Update 15 when it comes out. And that was the greaser on Service Update 14. So if you're curious about nothing else in this video except how does it fly, well, I'm not particularly great with my landings. That was an example of the plane making me look a lot better than I truly am on Sim Update 14. So just food for thought. Back here at Dillingham, already cleaned the flaps up. And I'll go ahead and taxi on back here and give my thoughts as we're taxiing back. So again, this is part 1 of 2. The turbine video is coming up directly after this, and I'm expecting a whole heaping bunch more of performance. You're talking about 380 horsepower per side with the Piston turbocharged variant that we have here. So you up that from 380 per wing to 550 or thereabouts. That's a bit of a hike on the horsepower. So I'd like to see how that works. I'm wondering what the adverse yaw and roll will be with split throttles. Have to probably be very careful with the difference in RPMs, because I'm sure with that much power it's really easy to roll a wing. However, this aircraft is indeed extremely smooth. You saw that hands-off flight. Lots of power to climb with the Piston version. And I think it's also worth noting, if you don't want to buy both and you're worried that the turbine-powered version will have performance that the Piston will not, I do not think that that is a factor, because once you're at 30,000 feet, you're going to be consuming less fuel anyways with the Piston. So, you know, in theory, you have relatively comparable nautical mile range, but it also offers the ability to lean your mixture out, rich of peak, lean of peak at the different altitudes, so more levers to play with. So that being the food for thought, I think it's safe to say that if you're afraid of not having one or the other, I would say go ahead and buy both if you can get both. But if you can't have one, do not worry about the Piston being underpowered, because it is certainly not underpowered. Here we are, safe and sound. How about that? Parking brake on, the usuals, turn everything off, and call that a review for the Grand Duke. So again, this comes with 9 liveries. The regular Duke comes with 4. There is the regular Duke without the winglets. This has the winglets, and the turbine also has the winglets. So just something to keep in mind visually. That being said, of course, it's a lot of money for what, for DLC, but I'm not even going to say I was right in the middle of saying for what you get for your money. No, it's not even that. It's a great aircraft, period. This can take you places and give you that adventure that you're looking for in terms of fidelity. If you like an easy aircraft, the starting I noticed could definitely be somewhat finicky. We've all started gasoline engines. That particular right engine there gave me a little bit of trouble, but I wanted you to see that because that is the fidelity that we're working with here. So that being said, without ranting and raving on and on and on, I'm pretty sure you get the point. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Maybe we'll catch you on the turbine version. Until the next review, see you later. Bye-bye.